outside the ancient sands of the Egyptian Empire, and slithering between the dynasties of Mesopotamia, existed a creature with the body of a mighty leopard, with its golden fur shimmering in the desert sun, and the graceful neck of a serpent, crowned with glistening scales. A fantastical fusion of two formidable beasts, embodying the very essence of cunning, prowess, and brute power. This was the Serpopard, mythical feline serpent of the Egyptian borderlands.
For generations, humans have been telling stories, tales, and legends about creatures found all around the world. From the griffin to the chupacabra, and from the leviathan to the Chinese dragon. It's high time we set out an adventure to learn about them all. This is an expedition for the mythological. Welcome to Mythos Safari.
There was a concept in ancient Egypt of chaos beyond her borders. Many people don't understand how intricate and well-developed ancient Egypt was, probably because people associate that a civilization that existed over 5,000 years ago was pretty underdeveloped. But ancient Egypt was anything but. I want to take a moment to remind you guys to subscribe and turn on those notifications. As well, if you want to support this channel and the amazing content we make here, please become a member and join the channel. It'll go a long way to helping us continue. Through this diverse and dynamic empire, the Egyptians crafted incredible myths, legends, deities, monsters, and creatures to explain the world around them and the phenomenon they were witnessing on their day-to-day, specifically the wildlife. Everywhere we look through Egyptian mythology, we find inspiration from wildlife, those that flourished in North Africa and across Arabia and the Middle East. And the legend of the Serpopard followed the Egyptians from Mesopotamia all the way to the incredible empire they built situated on the Nile. Succum. I've spent some time in Egypt. I've also had the privilege of living in countries where leopards run free. I've seen them with my own eyes. I've witnessed the power, the glory, and the immense regal presence that they have around people. Leopards are a truly magnificent creature. And thousands of years ago, situated on the Nile, leopards reigned supreme. Specifically, the Arabian leopard or the African leopard. It's hard to make the distinction on which one exactly ruled the ancient lands. But these ancient leopards appeared as hieroglyphs and statues that are preserved until today for us to study. And in some cases, pharaohs and their families, usually those of extreme nobility, kept the leopards as exotic pets, amongst other big cats like lions and cheetahs. And in other parts of Egypt and the ancient world, wealthy people shelled out vast riches for their spotted pelts. These animals were regarded as fearsome and powerful. The great cats were in many ways reminiscent of the gods. And being that the ancient Egyptians were so into religion and spirituality, they found meaning in associating themselves with the body of the leopard. The patterns of the leopard's skin was thought to represent the stars, a symbol of eternity, and was also associated with the moon, probably having to do with the obscurely round head. And in other interpretations, the leopard was an unknown ancient sky goddess, her pelt studded with stars. As well, the goddess Maet, which had titles like She Who Runs Swiftly and Slayer of Serpents. A very old deity, Maet was believed to represent the rule of law and final judgment. She was also thought to protect people by killing snakes and scorpions with her sharp claws, and to help the souls of the deceased on their journey to the afterlife. This is ironic as well because Maet in many times is depicted in the form of a leopard. Well, it's actually unclear whether a leopard or a cheetah, because ancient Egyptians didn't really make a distinction between the two when describing them in writing, but they did in art, so at least we know that they knew the difference. But it's ironic because the hybrid of Serpopard is made up of a leopard and a serpent, which the goddess Maet apparently slayed regularly. So it's a bit awkward. Snakes were a constant danger in ancient Egypt, especially to children. But they were also helpful, ridding the storehouses of mice and rats that fed on precious grain. Egyptian art is also full of snakes that inhabited Egypt and its surrounding. Egyptians also found spirituality in serpents, having many gods like Nehebaku, which was the primordial snake god in ancient Egyptian mythology, or Apep, who was the ancient Egyptian deity who embodied darkness and disorder. This ultimately led to the symbol of the Uraeis. This is a symbol for the goddess Wadjet. She was one of the earliest Egyptian deities and was often depicted as a cobra, as she is a serpent goddess. So there's no doubt that Egyptians found this source of spirituality in serpentine creatures. And snakes were so plentiful throughout the time the Egyptian empire reigned. And how they ended up combining a snake with a leopard, well, that's a whole other rabbit hole we're about to shovel through. So let's try. Serpopard, Leopard, or the camelopard. I shit you not, the archaic word for giraffe was camelopard. We are about to go down a very deep, nuanced, and confusing rabbit hole, so please strap in. The Serpopard is a mythical animal known from ancient Egyptian and Mesopotamian art. The word Serpopard is a modern coinage. It's a combination of serpent and leopard, derived from the interpretation that the creature represents an animal with the body of a leopard and the long neck and head of a serpent. However, they have also been interpreted as serpent-necked lions, and there's no known name for the animal in any ancient texts. Furthermore, the fact that Mesopotamian culture had clear depictions of this creature called the Serpopards throughout their art and mythology confuses the narrative even more. And that's because there is a common train of belief that this leopard-snake hybrid was just a slightly imaginative depiction of a giraffe. I know I had a giggle when I read this as well, but hold on because I'm not done. As natives of Africa, giraffes were known in ancient Egypt and were commonly depicted in their wall paintings. Giraffe tails were actually presented as a tribute to Tutankhamun in the 14th century BC. And giraffes back then were thought to be part leopard and part camel. Giraffes are also considered symbols for communication, intuition, and attaining the impossible. And they were known in ancient Egypt as being able to see before any other animal. It's extremely unclear at this point if the ancient Egyptians just sort of distorted the art of giraffes and made them into serpopods. But again, the fact that Mesopotamian art includes serpopards in it, and there were no giraffes back then anywhere near Mesopotamia, confuses this whole theory wildly. And I should mention, we know ancient Egypt and Mesopotamian civilizations interacted, so there's a chance that there was some crossover from Mesopotamia leading to this legend in Egypt. By all interpretations, this creature is classified as a feline, not a reptile, and sometimes even as an unusually long-necked lioness. It bears the characteristic tuft of the species at the end of the tail, and usually there are no spots. And the round ears also most closely resemble lionesses rather than a serpent. Because serpents do not have ears and there are no typical serpent features such as scales, tongues, or reptilian head shapes, it's clear that this is probably depicting a feline. And even stranger about the ancient Egyptian peoples with all this, the mystery that keeps going on, is that they were known for their accurate depictions of the creatures they observed. It's possible that the long necks could have been a simple exaggeration, used as a framing feature in an art piece. There's a great example of this in the Narmer palette, and it just shows how bougie and extra the Egyptians were. They had a cosmetic mixing plate designed so beautifully that the middle was also the matrimony of these two sauropods.
Osfet.
It has been suggested that in ancient Egyptian art, the Serpopod represents a symbol of the chaos that reigned beyond Egypt's borders. This is the chaos that a king must tame. They are normally shown conquered or restrained, as in the Narmer palette, or attacking other animals. There was an obsession in ancient Egypt with conquering and taming the wilds of the world outside. As Egypt conquered and spread and created life for peoples, introducing them to cultures and religions that they held dearly in the empire, the interior of this great civilization became the comfort zone for people who were born in and around the empire. And it very well may be that the Serpopard, even for the Egyptians, was just a symbol of the outside world, just a sign that outside of Egypt, there were elements unknown, things to still be explored, and places to still be tamed. As for Mesopotamia, these Serpopards in art are shown in pairs with intertwined necks, and it is seen by some scholars as the manifestation of the darker or more sinister aspect of the god of natural vitality, which is involved in all life that stems from planet Earth. But again, this is just an interpretation based on what we know from these ancient people's history and culture, and at the end of the day, this fantastic beast will forever remain a mystery to us, and its legends, stories, and meanings will forever be unknown. Please subscribe and turn on the notifications for this channel and join us to become a member on this channel. It'll go a huge way to helping us continue to make more content just like this. This animal was one of the most interesting animals I've researched and written a script on yet, and I'm so excited to continue bringing you guys some incredible, unknown, mythological creatures from around the world. And we'll see you on the next safari. Goodbye.